Thank you, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, everyone. I will present you today the OMA's new enabler, the social network web enabler that we are showcasing here. This enabler is all about mobile social networks, and our ultimate goal in defining it is to provide every mobile user, potentially in the world, with a social wall just like Facebook, reusing his mobile identity. So why are we standardizing social networks here? Basically, we've been noticing that the social networks really have introduced a new way of communicating. It's a completely asynchronous way of communicating. If you think about it, you can consume and produce content whenever you want. You don't need this real-time communication pattern, which is typical to operators' networks nowadays. And how can operators do better in this area? So first of all, if you think about it, it's all about the mobile identity that you have, your phone number. Because of this, you can basically already interwork and call any user in the world for real-time communications. What we want to provide here on top of this is also asynchronous communication, just like you can do with traditional social networks. And operators are already used to do interworking and interoperability, and leveraging this identity will enable potentially 6 billion people to be interconnected with this initial type of communication that you have. And we're doing this in OMA to use really standards as drivers for this interoperability, and also reusing the assets that operators already have in interconnecting with each other, in reusing and guaranteeing some privacy and trust that we can provide that maybe other players cannot provide or do not provide in the same way. So the basic technology behind our enabler is federated social networks. May I ask you, who of you is aware of this type of concept? Okay, very little people. Basically, that's a concept that was born in the social web area, really to answer this data ownership and privacy problems. And it's been backed up over the year through some enterprise software vendors and more players going up to regulatory institutions like the European Commission, asking for standardizing and providing more security and interoperability of data across social networks. And this is what we leverage on in the OMA. So if you look at the picture, this is the basic concept. You have these two gray islands, which are two social sites, with a bunch of protocols that allow them to interoperate and communicate with each other. And this is eventually how we envision the idea of federation of social networks. So going better into this new enabler itself, what we've been doing is actually leveraging the existing specifications of the web industry. They're much more smarter than we are actually on defining web-based interfaces and protocols to enable server-to-server communication in particular. So these OStatus or open social specifications are already available. They are tendentially used in the web world. We brought them to the mobile arena, and we added some really end-to-end use case to that. In that sense, we added, for example, the use of the mobile identity as an asset, and the phone number routing, for example, across operators. But we also added some device-specific features to optimize also network consumption and device battery consumption, but also to cache or queue, for example, some of your data that you want to share with your friends, even in loss of connectivity. So these are focuses that we've been working on in the context of the OMA. Beside the basic features that you can think at a foundation, really that's the purpose of the enabler, to enable actual services and applications to leverage this, this layer of communication that we can provide to publishing and sharing any type of activity here. An additional interesting feature is about data portability and, for example, the ability to migrate from a social network to another one, which is really what also people are demanding in this context now. So I won't go through the architecture of the demo, and you can pass by at the entrance here. Just to some key aspects of the demo that we're showing. Basically, the seamless login using your mobile phone number identity, the discovery of your address book, so you can find out which other users of your address book through their phone number are already provided with this type of functionality, but also the triggering of social activities from mobile devices. So in this case, we've been asking ourselves, how can we leverage the mobile device and enable it to facilitate social networking interactions? So we have different technologies that we're showcasing here that allow to be very flexible in facilitating, for example, from an NFC, tapping with an NFC tag, following someone or checking a place or you name it. So thank you for listening, and I'll be available here at the booth whenever you want.